Welcome to Innovation Pulse, your quick, no-nonsense update on the latest in clean tech and EVs. First, we will cover the latest news. Google commits to 200 megawatts from a future fusion plant, while Tesla advances its Nevada LFP battery factory to reduce dependency on Chinese manufacturers. After this, we'll dive deep into exciting breakthroughs in nuclear fusion technology, exploring how these advancements could revolutionize clean energy for the future. Stay tuned. Google made significant energy-related announcements this week. The company committed to purchasing 200 megawatts of power from Commonwealth Fusion Systems' future ARC power plant in Virginia. This marks a major step for fusion energy, though the plant is not yet operational. Meanwhile, Google's latest environmental report reveals a doubling of data center energy use since 2020, with emissions rising 50% since 2019. Despite investments in clean energy, these numbers highlight the challenge of meeting growing energy demands, particularly with AI's rise. However, Google doesn't specify how much energy AI consumes, attributing increased usage to Google Cloud, Search, and YouTube. The company faces pressure for transparency on AI's energy impact. While Google pursues ambitious climate goals, managing energy needs and enhancing transparency remain critical challenges. Tesla is close to completing its lithium iron phosphate (LFP) battery cell factory in Nevada, aiming to reduce reliance on Chinese manufacturers amidst ongoing trade tensions. Tesla's vehicles and energy products like Megapacks and Powerwalls use LFP cells, currently sourced from China. The factory will produce about 10 GW of LFP cells annually for use in Megapacks. The move helps Tesla sidestep high tariffs on Chinese imports. Despite this, catching up to Chinese leaders like BYD and CATL in LFP production remains challenging. Tesla's effort marks a significant step in localizing production in the US, where Ford is also developing a larger LFP factory in Michigan. This advancement highlights a shift back to American roots in LFP technology, originally developed by researchers in the US and Canada. And now, pivot our discussion towards the main clean tech topic.
Welcome to Innovation Pulse. I'm Donna, and today I'm joined by plasma physicist Dr. Yakov Lasker, who's been tracking the latest developments in nuclear fusion. Yakov, I have to say, when I saw these new results, my first thought was, wait, didn't we solve fusion already with that big laser breakthrough a couple years ago?
Oh, that's exactly what makes this story so fascinating. We're actually seeing three completely different approaches to fusion, all making major breakthroughs at the same time. But here's the kicker. A German reactor just held superheated plasma for 43 seconds, which might not sound like much, but it's like the difference between lighting a match and keeping a campfire going.
43 seconds? That's barely enough time to microwave leftover pizza.
Right, but here's what blew my mind. That plasma was hotter than the surface of the sun, and they contained it using nothing but magnetic fields. Imagine trying to hold a piece of the sun in your hands, using invisible forces. That's essentially what they did for nearly 3/4 of a minute.
Okay, now I'm hooked. But before we dive into the technical wizardry, help our listeners understand why this matters. Because I feel like we've been hearing fusion is 30 years away for, well, about 30 years now.
Ha! You just hit on the running joke in our field. But here's the thing. I'm actually hearing timelines of 15 to 20 years now. And that's coming from researchers who've been burned by overly optimistic predictions before. The reason? These superconducting magnets are finally powerful enough to do what we need them to do.
So what changed? What makes this different from all the previous attempts?
Think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to contain a tornado in a bottle. Previous attempts were like using a regular household magnet. These new superconducting magnets, cooled to nearly absolute zero, are like having a magnetic field so powerful it can actually wrestle that tornado into submission and keep it there.
But wait, that's just one approach, right? You mentioned three different methods, all making breakthroughs.
Exactly. So we've got the Germans with their Wendelstein 7X reactor. That's called a stellarator. Then there's this British reactor called JET that actually beat the German record by hitting 60 seconds, but they kept quiet about it until now. And completely separate from both of those, we have the National Ignition Facility in California that's been zapping fuel pellets with 192 giant lasers.
Hold up, 192 lasers? That sounds like something out of a James Bond movie.
It gets better. Each laser pulse takes 12 hours to charge up, and when they fire, they're hitting a target the size of a pea with more energy than some small countries use in a day. But here's where it gets wild. That tiny pellet actually produces more energy than the lasers put into it.
So if they can already make more energy than they put in, why aren't we all running our homes on fusion power?
This is where the engineering reality hits hard. To run a power plant, you'd need to hit a new fuel pellet every 10th of a second, continuously, for years. Right now, they can do it maybe once every 12 hours. It's like the difference between lighting one match and running a steel mill.
Okay, so that's the laser approach. But what about these magnetic bottles you mentioned? Are they closer to being practical?
That's where this gets really interesting. The magnetic confinement approaches, both the German stellarator and the British tokamak, are designed to run continuously. The Germans are planning to hit a minute soon, then eventually run for over half an hour straight.
But there's got to be a catch, right? These different approaches, they're basically competing against each other?
Oh, absolutely, and there's some serious scientific rivalry here. When the Germans announced their 43-second record, the British team basically said, "Hold our tea, we already hit 60 seconds." But then the German team fired back, saying the British reactor was 3 times larger, so it doesn't really count.
That's like arguing about who can hold their breath longer when one person is a professional swimmer and the other is a weekend pool goer.
Perfect analogy. But here's what's fascinating. Both approaches have merit. The tokamaks like JET are simpler to build, but the stellarators like Wendelstein are more stable. It's like comparing a manual transmission to an automatic. Different strengths for different situations.
So where does all this leave us, regular folks? Should we be excited, or is this still decades away from affecting our daily lives?
Here's what changed my perspective. Private companies are now pouring more money into fusion than governments. We've got Canadian companies promising grid power by the early 2030s, and MIT spin-offs planning to build reactors that could power 150,000 homes.
Wait, that soon? Are we talking about my kids potentially having fusion-powered homes?
It's plausible, but let's be realistic about the challenges. We're essentially trying to recreate the power source of stars here on Earth. Even with all these breakthroughs, we still need to solve massive engineering problems. Like, how do you maintain equipment that operates at temperatures hotter than the sun's surface?
When you put it that way, 43 seconds starts to sound pretty impressive again.
Exactly. And here's the beautiful thing. Each approach is solving different pieces of the puzzle. The laser method proves we can get net energy gain. The magnetic bottles show we can sustain the reaction. Private companies are figuring out how to make it economically viable.
So what should our listeners be watching for? How will we know when fusion is about to become real?
Look for 3 milestones. First, when magnetic confinement reactors can run for hours instead of minutes. Second, when someone builds a demonstration plant that actually feeds power to the grid, even if it's just for a neighborhood. And third, when the cost per kilowatt starts competing with solar and wind.
And if all this works out, what does it mean for the planet?
This is potentially the holy grail of clean energy. Fusion fuel comes from seawater, literally the most abundant resource on Earth. No carbon emissions, no long-term radioactive waste, no risk of meltdowns. It's like having a piece of the sun in your backyard, but one that turns off safely when you flip the switch.
That's incredible to think about. So next time you're waiting 43 seconds for your coffee to brew, remember? Scientists just held a piece of the sun for that exact amount of time, and it might be the breakthrough that changes everything.
Beautifully put, Donna. The future of energy might just be arriving 1 second at a time.
That's Dr. Yakov Lasker, everyone. Thanks for helping us understand why 43 seconds might be the most important 43 seconds in energy history.
Thanks for having me, Donna. Keep watching the skies and the reactors.
This has been Innovation Pulse. Until next time, keep innovating.
That's a wrap for today's podcast. We've explored Google's commitment to fusion energy and Tesla's move towards domestic LFP battery production, alongside the exciting advancements in nuclear fusion technology paving the way for a cleaner energy future. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends and colleagues so they can also stay updated on the latest news and gain powerful insights. Stay tuned for more updates.